Stranger Things is the most important show in modern television. Now, I don't know who needs to hear this. It's not very good, but without it, streaming would not be where it is today. Certainly, Netflix would not be about to take over the world. It cannot be denied that Stranger Things had an explosive opening season, garnering immense popularity to become a cultural phenomenon. But as the years passed, the show, intended to be a limited series, would become a victim of its own success. A show touted for its great pacing, amazing character development, and an enticing mystery tying everything together to keep you hooked, would gradually buckle under the weight of its own bloated cast and the storyline that got so complex that single episodes became longer than your average Marvel movie. This would lead to the unavoidable downfall of Stranger Things. The year is 2015, and Matt and Ross Duffer, fresh off their work on a surprisingly good show, Wayward Pines, are shopping Montauk to a reported 15 to 20 networks with a 20-page pitch book, aka the series Bible. The Duffer brothers, heavily influenced by 80s pop culture, had a book with a clear pitch: a missing boy, visual references such as E.T., The Goonies, just to name a few, and a dark, twisted mystery sure to keep viewers hooked. 15 to 20 networks turned them down. Some wanted it to be a kid's show, while others wanted the focus to be on the adults. The fear was that a larger audience might not relate to kids being the focus. But one network would say yes. A network looking to get its foot in the door of more traditional television. Netflix would order 8 episodes of Stranger Things. And on July 15th, 2016, Stranger Things would release all 8 episodes. This was a day a cultural phenomenon was born. Stranger Things Season 1 is a masterclass in storytelling. The pacing, the mystery, the writing and character development. It's not hyperbolic to say that Season 1 is one of the best seasons of television in the modern era. Definitely the streaming era. Winona Ryder as Joyce Byers absolutely shines. David Harbour's Hopper goes from a useless drunk cop,
coffee and contemplation,
to a hero who finds his way. Steve goes from asshole jock to lovable heartthrob with amazing hair. The absolute best part of Stranger Things Season 1 is the mystery of the show. We know Will Byers disappears in the town of Hawkins, Indiana, a town where nothing happens, but we don't know why. What exactly is the Upside Down? We know very little about what is happening, and that adds to the drama of the first season. We learn along with the characters. This helps us relate and attach to them. And since we could relate to the characters, the memes spread like wildfire. The 80s nostalgia, the synthwave music, Dungeons and Dragons, which became a core part of the show, resonated with older people reliving their childhoods, and also introduced a new group of people to how awesome the 80s were. It's pretty crazy to think how a show with only 8 episodes and expectations of being a throwaway show that Netflix could just add to their library would change TV forever. Seriously, because of Stranger Things, Disney Plus exists. There would be no Mandalorian without the success of Stranger Things. Every streaming platform was now trying to find their Stranger Things. The Boys, Severance, House of the Dragon, these shows exist because Stranger Things showed other platforms that streaming was worth investing in. The show was watched for millions of hours by millions of people, and Netflix added millions of subscribers in the following quarter after Stranger Things debuted. But it's important to remember that Stranger Things was written as a standalone season. It was not written with the intention of a season 2, at least not with the same characters. This is part of what makes Season 1 so amazing. The story of Season 1 is complete. Eleven sacrifices herself, Joyce gets Will back, Hopper finishes his emotional arc, and Steve goes from asshole jock to wholesome guy with a baseball bat. Season 1 started with Will being afraid and defensive, but after being in the Upside Down, Will is now braver. The season introduces us to flawed characters, and we see them develop thanks to the experiences that unfold as the story progresses, something that would be completely lost in later seasons. This should have been the end, but this was a mega hit. The Duffer Brothers wanted to do more of an anthology with different characters. Netflix wasn't having that shit. They wanted more Eleven, more Mike, and the rest of the party, more Hopper. Stranger Things Volume 1 is one of the greatest seasons of television in my or your lifetime. Don't try to guess how old I am. Just hit the subscribe button if you agree, and comment below and tell me why if you disagree. Stranger Things 2 released on Friday, October 27, 2017, and it's 1 year later in Hawkins, Indiana. At first, everything appears to be normal. That is, until we're introduced to the new central villain, the Mind Flayer, and we find out that Hawkins is still connected to the Upside Down. Eleven isn't dead, and now she secretly lives with Hopper, and honestly, this is one of the highlights of Season 2. The emotional connection formed between Eleven and Hopper built on the frameworks introduced in Season 1 in a way that feels genuinely meaningful, as both characters present a mirror image of the other, and this opens the door for more exploration into Eleven's backstory and the deeper lore of the seasons moving forward. Eventually, Eleven goes on a side quest to find herself, and is here she looks for her mom and finds out that Dr. Brenner did experiments on her mom and stole her when she was born. And in search of who she is, she finds a family of misfits that includes her sister, 8, in what is universally considered the worst episode, at least until Season 5, of Stranger Things, Episode 7 of Season 2, The Lost Sister. And while I don't think this episode is terrible, it does bring the season to a screeching halt. On the second watch, which I just watched right before Season 5, I think I texted through this whole episode. It was honestly just really boring. Two things are happening in Season 2. Will is slowly being taken over by the Mind Flayer, and Hawkins has a massive network of underground tunnels with veins and roots spoiling pretty much everything. And we also find out in Season 5 that Will built this shit in his sleep. Whatever. Joyce and Hopper investigate this along with Joyce's new boyfriend, Bob, played by Sean Astin. And let's be clear, Bob is fucking fantastic in this role.
Want to go for a ride in the Bobmobile?
The party, outside of Will, is mostly dealing with the fallout of Season 1. And one of the more ridiculous things in the history of Stranger Things, Dustin has a pet demo dog that he hides. This is also when he and Lucas fight over the newly introduced Max, who moves into time with her incredibly insane brother Billy. Mike is a sad puppy as he mourns the death of Eleven and calls out to her every night on the radio. Steve settles into the role that he will have for literally the rest of the show: babysitter.
Always the goddamn babysitter.
There is no more character evolution or de-evolution for him for the remaining seasons. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how great his chemistry with Dustin is and how he shapes Dustin's character. It is really fantastic. Oh, and of course, Nancy and Jonathan. This is where they begin their will they, won't they arc, even though you know they will. She's still with Steve, but you know it's over. But let me ask you guys a question. Does anyone find it weird how forgiving it was that Jonathan basically watched and took pictures of her losing her virginity, and she just kind of was okay with it? But anyway, Nancy and Jonathan link up with new addition Murray and are determined to blow the lid off of the Hawkins Lab cover-up from Season 1. This part is written directly into the Season 2 solely because #JusticeForBarb trended so much online. Barb's death is almost not acknowledged at all in Season 1, but Nancy is riddled with guilt in Season 2 after she leaves Barb to die after getting smashed by Steve. We're introduced to Barb's parents, and this is one of the rare instances when fan outrage directly affected how a show was written. This movement was so powerful that actress Shannon Purser was nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Drama Series. Season 2 was met with mostly positive reviews, and it feels bigger than Season 1, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but also not a bad thing. The kids are still amazing. Eleven's side quests, while necessary, seemed way too long, but Stranger Things Volume 2 was a hit. Where Season 1 had to find an audience, Season 2 had an audience waiting. It's been reported that Season 2 had 100 million viewers worldwide. This meant that, for better or for worse, that Netflix would double down on its flagship show. Bigger budgets, longer run times, bigger casts. It only made sense. But this popularity and fandom would eventually send Stranger Things completely off the rails. Season 3 released on July 4th, 2019, a summer blockbuster that leans hard into nostalgia. Seriously, this is the 80s at its best. The colors, the music. I mean, the Terminator is one of the villains in this season. Hopper looks like a character from Miami Vice, complete with a ridiculous shirt and a mustache. There is a USSR base under Starcourt Mall. Fucking Russia. This show completely loses everything that made it great. I mentioned it earlier. Bigger budgets, bigger cast. It's basically the Avengers with nostalgia. Steve works at Scoops Ahoy with new cast edition Robin, which actually gives us one of the most important and most used memes in meme history. Eleven and Mike have relationship drama, which is honestly dumb, but it creates a good dynamic between Eleven and Max, who dumps Lucas like all the time. Now the Mind Flayer is just possessing humans, with the leader being Max's brother Billy because he's a piece of shit, so why not? Hopper has completely de-evolved into an angry person, which makes zero sense from a story standpoint. I mean, seriously, why is he so mad? I get that he's annoyed about Mike and Eleven because Eleven is his daughter and they're spending a lot of time together, but I'm sure he also understands trauma bonding since he kind of did that with Eleven. Instead, he teams up with Joyce and Murray to figure out Magnet stuff, which is a huge step down for Joyce as a character. And by the way, Murray as a character is fucking annoying. Like I just don't like him as a character. Do you find Murray funny at all ever? Comment below. Eventually we get Robin, Steve, Dustin, and Erica as a team, and they break into a top secret military base by climbing through vents. Yep, and by the way, Erica as a character is the worst. She has no character development at all. She goes from the sassy black girl to the sassy black girl who's a nerd. There is a lot going on in season 3, but a lot of it doesn't mean anything. Season 3 has fewer episodes, but almost 2 hours more of runtime than season 2. I haven't even mentioned Nancy and Jonathan investigating the possession of people because it's ultimately pointless. One of the big problems with season 3 is we already know the who, what, when, where, and why. We're just waiting for the characters to catch up. The mystery is completely gone. We know what's going on, like I think the first 30 seconds of the fucking show. Listen here, people like season 3. It has mostly positive reviews. Season 3 is fucking terrible. And that's saying something because season 5 is also terrible. The cast is bloated. For the third season in a row, they kill off a main character just outside of the main cast because they're too scared to kill a main character out of fear of fan backlash. But we got the whole story arc for Barb because fans cried. They killed Bob, who was amazing. They killed Billy, who nobody cared about because he was an asshole. They fake killed Eleven in season 1 and Hopper in season 3. What is this writing? I said earlier that this show was written for one season. This is a clear example of that. I'm sure Netflix thought that this was epic, but fuck this. The first 2 seasons are more subtle. This one completely blows its load all over its keyboard. Not to mention they couldn't even let Hopper's death breathe because it's immediately undercut by an end credit scene that signals that he's clearly not dead. Either way, a lot of people watched this season. The launch of season 3 was defined as record-breaking, and I'm sure seasons 1 and 2 were rewatched heavily leading up to its release because there's long gaps in between the seasons, unlike traditional television. But there was a clear shift in sentiment towards the show as it felt more like a cash cow being milked for all it had than a story with more to tell, as it gradually drifted further from the intimate world than the first season built. But while it wasn't waning in popularity, the show was clearly overexposed. Luckily, or unluckily, many factors would lead to a long break for the residents of Hawkins, Indiana. There were 1,058 days between season 3 and season 4, long enough for Stranger Things to go from cultural saturation to near disappearance. The COVID pandemic shut the world down, halted production in the middle of shooting, but also This season was going to be bigger and better, according to Netflix anyway. At the time, it was one of the most expensive seasons of television ever produced, reportedly costing around $30 million per episode, almost double the budget of Game of Thrones. Season 4 was set out to be epic, and for the most part, it delivered. It is miles better than Season 3. I mean, once you get past the fact that everyone is noticeably grown as fuck and clearly not high school sophomores anymore, Season 4 is fun. Vecna is now the big bad, revealed to be behind everything the entire time. The cast is once again split into teams. Will, Jonathan, Joyce, and Eleven move to California to get a fresh start. Even this group is split further as Eleven spends most of the entire season with Dr. Brenner, learning the origins of her powers and the truth about Henry Creel, while also trying to get her powers back after losing them in Season 3. Joyce and Murray spend almost the entire season trying to find Hopper, who was revealed to be alive in a Russian prison, slowly transitioning into the Red Guardian. Yeah, no, for real. Jonathan is now a useless stoner. Mike, Will, and Argyle are doing stuff. Will is struggling with his sexuality and his love for Mike, and he cries a lot. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang is investigating Henry Creel's origin in Vecna. A witch hunt for new cast member Eddie happens because Chrissy dies in a very violent way, and Eddie plays Dungeons & Dragons in a deep red state. It must be satanic because it's Dungeons & Dragons, so yeah. Eddie is actually a really solid addition to the cast, which of course means the Duffer Brothers must kill him. Season 4 feels epic. The CGI it's a lot, like a lot. Max is easily the MVP of the season, struggling with the guilt over Billy's death and isolating herself from the rest of the group. Grief and trauma are what Vecna targets, making Max a prime candidate. The thing that saves her is music, specifically Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that scene is incredible. And that song became so popular, it charted worldwide 37 years after its release, peaking at number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100, higher than its original chart position. And my God, am I glad they didn't bring back that song in full force in Season 5, because that shit got annoying. Season 4 concludes with the longest episode in the series. Eleven gets her powers back. Hopper escapes a Russian prison, which that entire arc is stupid. Let's just put that out there. Vecna technically succeeds because Max dies momentarily, but not before Eleven brings her back to life. The party fights Vecna on all fronts in Hawkins and Upside Down psychically. Vecna is wounded but not killed, and Season 4 ends with Hawkins split and open, Vecna still alive, and the Upside Down finally spilling into the real world. And for the first time, Stranger Things ends without a reset. According to Netflix, Season 4 amassed 781 million hours watched in just 17 days, which is, it's a platform record, but that number just sounds insane. Fans praised the darker tone, but also complained about the bloated runtimes, and again, we need stakes. For 4 seasons, the Mind Flayer and Vecna have not killed anyone central to the story. Yes, Bob and Eddie die, and we love them, but they aren't core to Stranger Things. Even worse are the fake deaths, again, this time with Max. Undone literally moments later. Max gets her limbs broken, she goes blind, bleeds from her eyes, her heart stops, and it's fine because Kate Bush is running up a goddamn hill. And Eleven suddenly has resurrection powers, man. What the fuck ever. And now, when Vecna shows up on screen with all the main characters present, I know and you know they're not in real danger. The plot armor is obvious, but Season 5 must happen because it feels like Season 4 is just part 1 of a larger season. Season 5 was inevitable and announced as the final season. The stakes were supposedly higher than ever. 2 writer strikes delayed production, meaning nearly 3 more years passed before it debuted on Thanksgiving 2025, which means yes, most of the cast now looks like they're pushing 30.
I'm 15, Mr. Burnett.
Motherfucker, you look 30.
And what the fuck is going on with Lucas's hair? That wig is insane. I'm typing this the day after part 2 of season 5 dropped, 3 episodes, so I haven't seen the finale yet. But season 5 is not very good. When it dropped, it broke Netflix, so it was clearly insanely popular. Stranger Things is just a brand now. It's not even about whether it's good or it's bad. It's just a cash cow, a flagship show for Netflix, which at this point has basically taken over television. And Netflix knows this. As far as they're concerned, people are gonna watch the final season all the way to the end just to see what happens. So why bother writing a good story if it hinders your ability to create a spectacle that helps your marketing to shine? Bigger spaces, crazy VFX, and as many faces as you can fit on a screen to grab people's attention and get them to sign up. This is what I call the Netflix problem. Netflix doesn't necessarily need TV to be good. It needs you to keep watching. It's basically TikTok on your television. Netflix wanted people glued to the app on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And you know what? After episode 7, they got it. Season 5 picks up 2 years after season 4. The party is crawling through the upside down looking for Vecna. Max is in a coma and Lucas hasn't given up on her in his terrible wig. 11 is training to defeat Vecna, but 2 years and hundreds of crawls later, no Vecna. The military has a base in the upside down because why not? Even though in season 2, I believe it was, you couldn't even breathe that shit, but whatever, they just chilling down there. Hawkins residents act like everything is normal, even though it absolutely is not. To put it mildly, season 5 is ridiculous. Not ridiculous like season 3, just ridiculous. Plot armor is everywhere. Demogorgons can slaughter trained soldiers, but when one comes for Holly, Mike's mom stops it with a broken wine bottle. Cool moment, but come on. What are the Demogorgons' actual powers? Like, for real. Sometimes they can kill 46 soldiers in 8 minutes, but when it comes to any of the cast members, they convincingly suck at their job. What is this plot armor? A huge chunk of the season revolves around the government secretly harvesting AIDS blood, yes, 11's sister from the most forgettable episode of Stranger Things, to restart the same program that created 11. And apparently, you need to see a fucking Broadway play, yes, fly to New York and watch a play to fully understand Henry's backstory. People don't want to do homework. Marvel should have taught us this by now. Dr. K, basically the new Dr. Brenner, needs 11's blood to fight the Russians because sure, the literal world is ending, but let's focus on killing commies. There's even a Home Alone style trap to catch a Demogorgon. They quite literally cut a hole in the floor, put barbed wire for a Demogorgon to fall in. What are we even doing? I wish I was joking. Dustin is still grieving Eddie. Steve is exactly the same character. And then there's Will, oh, William Byers. Will struggles with his sexuality, and he has been some time, but he's paired with Robin, who is also gay. And after a heartfelt talk, she encourages him to be himself. And when everybody is about to die in the part 1 finale, this happens. Will, connected to the hive mind, unleashes his powers and wrecks enemies. Yes, it looks cool, but it makes no sense. Be yourself doesn't unlock superpowers, because the thing is, Will is hiding that he's gay. If he doesn't scream out, "I'm gay!" in that moment, or like, "Hey, yo, Mike, when we done with this, I want some of that Mike Spike," it just doesn't make sense. The metaphor collapses. It's cool visually. It was really awesome to see him like kill a bunch of Demogorgons and stuff like that. And I know people were just like, yeah, it's cool visually. It's nonsensical emotionally. But yeah, part 2 drops on Christmas Day. 3 episodes focus largely on Max and Holly trapped in Henry's memories. Nancy and Jonathan break up in some weird yogurt room. There's endless exposition. Somehow part 2 is even more ridiculous than part 1, with Max almost out of the Upside Down, which isn't even the Upside Down, it's Dimension X. Demo dogs nearly kill everyone in the hospital, but not before Max leaves Holly in the Upside Down, walks to her body. Karen Wheeler blows up a laundry room, but the demo dogs do this. Arr? Come on, bro. 11 and 8 form a suicide pact to stay behind in the Upside Down to end the experiments, which is probably the thing that makes the most sense. Mr. Scott Clark, the science teacher, is now fully part of the group, making the cast even more bloated. And finally, Will comes out to everyone, not the close group of friends, everyone, right before the final battle. And this sparked the first real negative discourse around Stranger Things. Some fans said it was forced. Others accused the show of having an agenda. And honestly, a lot of it was just straight up homophobia. And while the timing is questionable, Will coming out was absolutely necessary. Episode 7 is now the lowest rated episode of Stranger Things, and while I think it was bad, I think a lot of people just want to be upset about something, and it's just another bad thing in a bad season. It's like the cherry on top. If the season was excellent, nobody would care. The bigger issue is that episode 5, 6, and 7, they suck, and they're too long. It felt like Stranger Things was in uncharted territory. Like, Stranger Things' popularity can largely be attributed to the internet, and now the internet was seemingly turning their back on the show after a very underwhelming final season. Before it even aired, comparisons to the finale of Game of Thrones were already being thrown out, but if somehow the finale finished strong, all will be forgiven. Most musical artists' first album is often their best album because they spend their entire lives writing it. That is clearly the case with the Duffer Brothers. Season 1 of Stranger Things feels focused, confident, and complete. It's an amazing season of television. Everything after that, the writing is all over the place, and that's putting it nicely. You know the movie Flight, where Denzel Washington is drunk and absolutely should not be landing a malfunctioning plane but does anyway? That's the finale. The writing, it just isn't good. In fact, it's so messy that the Duffer Brothers have spent days in post-finale interviews trying to explain simple things that they clearly hope fans just wouldn't notice. And if you're watching this video, you've seen it. Big battle, giant spider, good guys win. Like, there's nothing much to talk about here. The entire season feels like it's speed running towards the epilogue, and that lasts over an hour. And even though season 5 isn't good, the epilogue is. 10 years, 5 seasons, 34 episodes, over 65 hours of television. We care what happens to these characters. I saw this in the movie theaters and cried multiple times. Mike and Eleven's heartfelt goodbye after Vecna is killed with Purple Rain playing in the background absolutely got me. Even on the rewatch when I was getting B-roll, it got me. Never mind that it's later undone with the show implying Eleven might not actually be gone, that it was an illusion 8 projected before she died, even though she should be bleeding out, right as the Upside Down was destroyed. Whatever. Dustin's graduation speech was awesome, especially knowing that's what Eddie wanted to do. We all knew Joyce and Hopper were going to get married, but it was still fun to see. Watching everyone reach their ending was genuinely satisfying, at least for me. That said, I knew season 5 wasn't going to be good by episode 2. You either love the show or you hate it. And there's a lot of people that completely turned on this show. Of course, it still has their diehards, but the memes were relentless. The Duffer Brothers press interviews didn't feel celebratory. They felt more like damage control. And fans had questions, and valid questions like, how does Will, who's been connected to the hive mind since season 2, survive Vecna's death? He's shown throughout season 5 in excruciating pain when Demogorgons are injured or set on fire, so at the very least, he should be suffering during the final battle. Instead, he's perfectly fine and even helps defeat Vecna. Okay. Or where were the Demogorgons and Demodogs during the final fight? The memes about this were hilarious. Were they on vacation?
Hold the pose, everyone.
Did that one look good?
Almost funnier than the Duffer Brothers explanation, which amounted to something Vecna would have never expected the attack, even though he literally entered Hopper's mind and saw the plan, but whatever. Or how is the entire cast not in military prison for life after killing military personnel, obstructing operations, and blowing up a military base? These are obvious questions the show just hopes you'll overlook. There were even rumors and full YouTube breakdowns claiming the finale was fake and that the real ending would drop January 7, 2026 in an episode called Conformity Gate. The final season was so underwhelming that fans literally convinced themselves that the series finale, released in theaters, wasn't the real ending and that a secret episode still existed. That tells you everything you need to know. The theory went viral. Netflix users flooded the platform hoping a surprise episode would appear. Of course, it never did. It broke Netflix. Instead, Netflix released a final behind-the-scenes episode on January 12th. And despite season 5 being released in 3 separate parts, Stranger Things still broke records and brought in $25 million in concession stands at the box office on New Year's Eve. So yes, Stranger Things 5, flaws and all, was a success. So is Stranger Things good? Overall, no. Is it entertaining? Absolutely. The memories, the memes, and the cultural impact that cannot be denied. There will be like 60 spin-offs that will come for years after the show, slowly watering down what the show once was. But we'll always remember the original party and how amazing Stranger Things was. I'm Jesse the Contrarian. Thank you so much for watching.